Second quarter, it continues, and this is Steph Curry in the corner. He would score 23 in the first half, and the Warriors have a 6-point lead on a night filled with all kinds of drama. The strange sort that made it difficult to understand how to interpret the game itself. After halftime, Durant seen leaving on crutches and a boot. That's the last we'd see of him. Meanwhile, not the last we'd see of Kawhi Leonard. He starts heating up. Raptors by 1, 4 minutes and change to go. And that's DeMarcus Cousins. Can't get there quickly enough. It's Kawhi taking over with a big 3. The lead is 4. 3.5 minutes to go. So we're just 30 seconds removed from that play. And Kawhi, who has made the mid-range jumper the thing again in this postseason. That's unstoppable. 26 points, 12 boards for Kawhi Leonard. Raptors a 6-point lead. And then Nick Nurse calls a timeout. Strange strategy. We'll talk about it in a moment. It clearly seemed to break the momentum for the Raptors and give the Warriors some life. And they're going to work it around. And it's Klay Thompson. Oh, he would make 7 threes on the night. That cuts the lead to 3. 1.5 minutes to go. This time it's going to be Steph Curry. Watch him, bottom of your screen, coming around the curl. A little traffic, but Van Vliet can't get there in time, and the game is tied. Warriors will go on a 9-2 run after the Nurse timeout. Game still tied, just over a minute to go. Kawhi, no. Steph, we're going the other way. And if there is one play that perfectly illustrates the brilliance of the Golden State Warriors, it is the ball movement on this play. Just watch it move quickly to where they get this look for Klay. Bang, 26 points for Klay Thompson. Warriors, a 3-point lead. Same score now as Golden State trying to keep its season alive. Kyle Lowry driving. DeMarcus Cousins, a step slow, gets there for the block, but it's a goaltend, and clearly is a good call. You'll see it again, off the glass first, no doubt about it, cuts the lead to 1. Other end of the floor now. Critical moment as the Warriors are looking to extend a 1-point lead with 20 seconds to go. Watch the bottom of your screen. Watch DeMarcus Cousins setting a screen, and that's an offensive foul, and it's a good call. You'll see it again, a no-doubter here. Cousins just moving slowly. He was 6 of 8 from the floor, but 2 huge, costly mistakes late in the game, giving the Raptors one last chance. Down 1 for a championship. 10 seconds to go. Kawhi Leonard sizing up Klay Thompson. They're not going to let him shoot the game winner. Here comes Iguodala. They're going to work it around in the corner. This is Kyle Lowry for the first ever title for Toronto, but it's not even close. It falls short, and on a crazy night filled with all sorts of drama, Steph Curry with 31 to lead the Warriors to a thrilling, stunning 106-105 win that keeps these NBA Finals alive. Of course, the overwhelming story in this, the injury to Kevin Durant, who on Instagram, hours after the game, would post, Dub Nation going to be loud as you-know-what for Game 6. I'm hurting deep in the soul right now, I can't lie, but seeing my brothers get this win was like taking a shot of tequila. I got new life. LOL. #Dubs. So their season continues. The drama surrounding him will continue for quite some time. Joe Lacob is the majority owner of the Golden State Warriors. He would talk to ESPN, but first we'll hear Bob Myers, the general manager, who was extraordinarily emotional after the game.
Kevin had it's an Achilles injury. I don't know the extent of it. He'll have an MRI tomorrow. I don't believe there's anybody to blame, but I understand this world. And if you have to, you can blame me. I run our basketball operations department. And let me tell you something about Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant loves to play basketball, and the people that questioned whether he wanted to get back to this team were wrong. He's one of the most misunderstood people. He's a good teammate. He's a good person. It's not fair.
That emotion telling the story of a night that was about a lot more than the final score, even in the NBA Finals. I mentioned Joe Lacob, the majority owner of the Warriors, said, I've experienced a lot since owning this team, some lows and many highs. Tonight was incredible pride in the resiliency of our team and respect for KD coming back with our backs against the wall. But I'm also so unbelievably sad about the KD injury. Talk about conflicting emotions. We are all over this from every possible direction, including Jalen Rose coming later and Charles Barkley coming later. But right now we start with Adrian Wojnarowski, who joins us live from Bristol this morning. Woj, what is the latest you were hearing about the severity of the injury to Kevin Durant?
Well, Ramona Shelburne and I are told that the Warriors believe that the MRI today will confirm a tear of Kevin Durant's right Achilles. You know, they're essentially just waiting on the severity of this injury, but this is in all likelihood going to be a significant injury that's going to keep him out for a long period of time, perhaps even next season if this is a complete tear.
You know, the emotion from Bob Myers there was striking, I think, to so many people, and you're so close and plugged into all of this. What did you make of that emotion? What should a fan take from that? What did it mean?
Well, I think number one, just the rawness of having been in the locker room with Kevin Durant, to see a player at the very top of his craft, at the top of his career, at the apex, be facing what is going to be perhaps a career-altering injury. And certainly, you know, Bob Myers knows what it took for Kevin Durant to come back and play for them, the sacrifice he's made for that organization. You know, he saved them over $72 million the last 2 years by taking a discount there, allowing them to keep Andre Iguodala, allowing them to keep Sean Livingston. And I think, you know, Bob Myers in that moment felt he needed to be the face of that organization. He needed to go out and be accountable. Like he said, if there's blame, put it on me. And to perhaps, you know, keep that from Steve Kerr right now, try to keep that from these Golden State players who are still playing in these finals.
And so, Woj, obviously there are so many different directions this thing leads us, and one of them is, as everyone knows, the fact that Kevin Durant could be a free agent during this offseason. How does all of this affect all of that? Well,
listen, there was only one team who was going to get Kevin Durant. There were a lot of teams jockeying to be in position to do that. Both teams in New York, the Clippers, and obviously the Warriors, who wanted to keep him. So while it is impactful, there were other teams who were going to get left out in this free agency. And listen, Kevin Durant could have always stayed in Golden State. He may still stay in Golden State. But I still think if Kevin Durant opts out of his contract, I would be surprised if there still isn't a long-term deal available for him almost anywhere he'd want. But this is something teams are going to have to evaluate. We don't know yet exactly the severity of the injury, but to say that Kevin Durant's not going to have options going forward, he is, and he's going to have great options, but whoever signs him, whether he stays with the Warriors or goes elsewhere, they're obviously going to have some patience before he's going to be able to play for them again and perhaps play at a high level again.
All right, Woj, well done. Thank you so much. And Bobby Marks will join us a little later, our front office insider, with an idea of how other NBA executives might look at this. Now I want to bring Jay Williams into the conversation, who's live in Toronto. And Jay, you were in the building, and I know how close you are to KD. You spent time with him yesterday. What can you tell us about his state of mind right now after what was obviously a devastating night?
He's hurt, Greeny. You know, he's just not hurt physically, but hurt emotionally. I was in the room with him last night, and we were watching a game, and the density within the air of the room made it challenging to breathe. You know, I think for a regular player, it would be so difficult to compartmentalize what just happened on that grand of a stage. But the guy who Kevin is last night, he watched the last 5 minutes of the ball game, rooting on his teammates, getting FaceTime by Draymond afterwards about this going back to the Bay Area and for them to win it. But I think overall, Greeny, it was, you know, you rush to get back on a grand stage like that. And for that to happen, he was distraught. He was distraught, just like any other human being would be distraught.
You know, we mentioned that there will be an MRI today that will confirm what the Warriors suspect. What did KD say about the injury? What did he tell you he felt? What did he tell you his expectation is?
Well, I think they're going to go back to New York, and he has a foot specialist that he's going to see there to get, you know, a second confirmation of what's going on. But I will say this, Greeny, it brings up a different point, and from the outside looking in, and it's just challenging the status quo here. And there's love between both, you know, Kevin's organization, Kevin's camp, and the Golden State Warriors. There's no maliciousness there at all. But I really think the way that this narrative has been handled, it's been pretty poorly managed. From Kevin's team, right from the beginning of the injury, they were targeting Game 5 for him to come back, Game 5, Game 6. And, you know, whether it was for strategic value, keeping Toronto on their toes, I really think Golden State kind of letting linger out there caused a lot of this chaos for narratives to be ran away with on, you know, is KD really committed to his teammates? You know, is he only thinking about himself? And even if Joe Lacob's coming out on Stephen A. Smith's show and saying that, hey, he will be playing, I think that applies some kind of added on pressure for a guy like that to come back. And look, he wasn't 100%. He wanted to come back. It's Game 5 of the NBA Finals. We get this. He was doing 2-a-days and physical therapy. But it almost felt like it was rushed for him to come back. And that's fine the way it happens. But, I don't think fans, it's a great learning opportunity for fans, coaches, franchises, players. We can't fault guys anymore for, them wanting to take care of their own body. We label it, Greeny, as selfish or he's only thinking about himself. Well, this is a prime example is that, here's a guy that loved his teammates, loved his brotherhood, wanted to play for them, came back not feeling 1,000%. And this is the worst case scenario on a big stage. And it was almost having like the same other player out there, Kawhi Leonard, who chose with the San Antonio Spurs that he didn't trust their staff in doing that and chose not to play. And look at the flexibility that he has with Toronto and kind of, having his own autonomy when it comes to his body. Not saying Kevin did not. I'm just saying how the two scenarios kind of played out. It's a lesson for everybody in the game of basketball and the game of sports.
I completely understand what you're saying. There really, in so many ways, is a night unlike any I can remember. Stay with me a second, Jay. I'll come back to you. But, DJ, I have not gotten your perspective into this conversation. So, again, we're watching the game, and the first moment you see him go down, what's the first thought that you have?
Man, I'm really hurt for Kevin Durant because, he worked so hard to get back. And, as a player that played in the league, the NBA is a brotherhood, okay? And you have 400 and some odd players that go out and compete against one another every night. But when you see one of your own guys or a good friend of yours go down in a situation where it looks like he's not going to be able to play anymore, it's very heartfelt. So I hope we get the best prognosis from the MRI today and he's able to come back and be himself again.
What did you make of Bob Myers' reaction? Again, that was the general manager that we showed you who broke down in tears multiple times talking about this and taking blame, if any, is to be taken. Do you feel there is blame here? Should someone, injuries happen, obviously, but we understand the extenuating circumstances of this. Is there blame to be assigned here?
I can't say it is, Greeny, because at the end of the day, Kevin Durant had a choice to either play or sit out the rest of the finals. So he chose that he was going to put his injury situation aside and join his guys to try to win an NBA championship. So with that being said, I don't think you could put blame either way.
Jay, I'd be curious to hear your perspective. Again, you're so close to Kevin and you're with him last night, and we all understand the circumstances that surround and the ramifications of this injury. When you heard the way the Warriors front office and the person of Bob Myers reacted so emotionally last night, what did that mean to you?
It really felt genuine. Bob is an incredible person. Seeing him come by last night, embrace KD, everybody was hurt, Greeny. When you see a guy like LeBron
Jay, I'm sorry,
James,
but he's taking blame. Is there blame here? We understand that Kevin felt some obligation to return. Should there be blame here?
I don't think there should be blame. I tell you an alternate that I would say, Greeny, and I was bringing it to this point, LeBron James has his own doctor that he has that kind of works with the team. And I think what you're going to see now is as these players feel more powerful and they're owning their own power, instead of just always going off what the team doctors are saying, having your own individual doctor as well kind of reconfirm those thoughts or give you alternate opinions. I know sometimes that could be frowned upon by franchises, but I think guys are getting so big to the point that you're going to have to bring your own team into the equation and really get it second, third, fourth, fifth opinion on a lot of this stuff as we move forward. I just think the game is going to change drastically after something like this.
Yeah,
and
it feels like a very consequential night. Now, here are words I never thought I'd find myself saying this morning. Oh, by the way, the NBA